Hello and welcome! My name is Emil and I am the creative director of Systemic Reaction. With me I have Simon Lasena, who is the lead designer on Ravenbound. He will be playing the game today and I will tell you a bit about it. Ravenbound is a live, open-world roguelite set in a deadly but beautiful fantasy realm inspired by folklore. It's the next game from developer and publisher Systemic Reaction, which is part of the Avalanche Studios group. And it's being developed by a small team in our Stockholm office. Now, what we're playing today is an alpha build, so just a standard caveat that it's not a finished game, there may be some bugs and placeholder stuff, but just don't look at those and we'll be fine. Now, what we're gonna play today represents someone having played about an hour or so of the game, getting past the tutorial, unlocking some new things, but not yet completing the first boss. This room you will see a lot in the game, because this is where you return to every time you die. And this is a roguelite, so expect to die a lot. Every run you play a new character called a vessel. The vessels are guided by an ancient being known as the Raven. And the Raven gives each vessel great powers, and in return every vessel helps the Raven grow stronger. Now if you look around you see there are 7 doors out of this room. 5 of them lead to one region each of the world, each containing a boss. At the start of the game you will only be able to use one of these doors, but by defeating the boss in that region you will unlock a new door, and so forth. Once you have defeated at least 3 bosses in the same run, you will unlock the 6th door, which leads to the Betrayer, the final boss of the game. The 7th door, that will be unlocked when the game is live. As with our previous titles, we have a strong commitment to a living experience beyond launch, and we are very excited to share more about that at a later date. But for now, let's kick this off and head out through the Door of Gales. So, welcome to Avalt, the island making up the world in Ravenbound. As you can see, the perhaps most striking power each vessel has is the power to turn into a raven. This is the main way to traverse large distances in the world. You will not be able to go in and out of Raven mode at any time, but once you've taken the sky, there is no limit to where you may go. Ravenbound uses the Apex engine. It's building on our 20 years of experience making open world games. But this is the first time we're bringing the roguelite genre into that open world. As a roguelite, Ravenbound is a faster paced game than many we've done in the past, and it offers the choices of an open world, and this is represented by the different locations you can go to. Each region is filled with locations, full of enemies, large or small, for you to kill, because this is an action roguelite and most of your time will be spent fighting. So, we've come to the region of Klippdal. Once protected by the God of Sky, this lush coastline features a lot of windswept cliffsides, and it's tied to the element of air. Now let's have a closer look at some of these locations. The icons above them show you what enemy type occupies each location, and the skulls show you how difficult they are, from 1 skull all the way to the dreaded 5 skull locations. This location here, this 2 skull location with Vitras, is probably not something we should take on fresh out of the gate, but let's come back later when we are stronger. The world as a whole remains the same in between runs, but you will never know what locations and enemies you will encounter each run, since that is randomly generated. As you can see, this icon looks a bit different. That is because this is a key location. In every region there are 3 key locations, and completing these will earn you a key. You need all 3 of them to open the tomb, which is where the region boss is. Now this is just a 1 skull location, so Simon should be able to take this on immediately. Another one of the Raven powers is the Raven Sense, or the ping as we often call it. At any time on foot you can use this to highlight nearby enemies and chests, or to just quickly spy around for your nearest surrounding locations. Alright, here we go. The combat of Ravenbound is fast-paced, it's frantic, it's rewarding you for keeping up the intensity. But to maximize your success, you need to weigh when to use quick, staggering attacks and when to use heavy, damage-dealing ones. Multiple attacks completed in a chain will result in a heavy finisher if uninterrupted. You have two defensive mechanics as well, but even these are mainly about giving you the window to go on the offensive. We have the dodge. This will quickly let you move around the battlefield and follow up with an attack which will send you right back into the fray. Then we have the Raven Guard. This will soak up damage while held, but if you stay defensive for too long it will drain completely, which leaves you vulnerable. Different tactics will be viable depending on the enemy. Some enemies can guard against your attacks, and the best way to punch through is with a heavy guard break attack. Ravenbound is a roguelite, so it is not an easy game, but that doesn't mean that you're weak at the start. We want players to feel powerful with their first attack, but still be able to feel smart in combat after 100 hours of gameplay. Whenever you defeat a group of enemies, you will be rewarded with a card draw. Progression in Ravenbound is built around finding and unlocking cards for your deck. The deck stays persistent in between runs, and every run you draw and play cards from your existing deck. But you can also unlock entirely new cards to add to your deck, making it stronger for future runs. Now here we see Simon has drawn 3 cards from the deck and gets to keep 1. The cards can be weapons, they can be armor, they can also be artifacts that are slotted in these slots for passive bonuses. And they can also be instant effect cards. As you see, each card has a mana cost to play, and you gain additional mana from leveling up. Okay, let's play this weapon, which should let us take on some tougher foes. While at the start, these cards will give you straight improvements to base stats. You get more damage, more armor, more health. Eventually you will unlock and be able to play more advanced cards, which really experiment with elemental effects and crazy synergies and debuffs and massive magical damage. My favorite is Ask's build, that it triggers big explosions whenever you attack enemies that are already burning. While you can get good just by mastering the combat mechanics, these card builds are what will really let you punch above your weight, eventually even letting you take on the Betrayer. Okay, let's see if we can take on this Vitras now. These Vitras will prove a lot more challenging than the earlier bandits. They are deadly fast and they can dice you up in a second with their daggers. Fortunately, they have a weakness: they are fairly easy to stagger. A good way to take on enemies is to use the perfect guard mechanic. When you use your Raven Guard, if you manage to time it exactly to the attack, you will knock down any enemies around you, including the attacker, leaving them vulnerable for follow-up. In a similar fashion, you can perfect dodge incoming attacks. If successful, this will make your following attacks for a short duration do a lot more damage. You have a number of health potions to use if your health drops too low, but they are hard to come by, so you will want to use them only when absolutely needed. Again, as a roguelite, health is one of your sort of main currencies. It's a sort of battle of attrition to get all the way to the final boss, so you want to not waste any health if you can avoid it. Now as you can see here, Simon charges up his yellow bar here as he attacks. That is the energy bar, and it will basically reward you for being active in combat. The higher it is, the more damage you do, but if you get hit, it will drain more quickly. High energy is also something we use to trigger some of the special features found on certain equipment cards, so that if you are above a certain percent of energy, you will deal burning damage or you will deal frost damage, or those kind of things. So it's really something that you want to keep that value high. We want to balance combat in Ravenbound so you can get better at both the mechanical skill and you can get better through card progression. But to create the best possible builds, you will need to combine a little bit of both. Okay, that was all of them. Let's see what our card draw is. This Mana Stone is really strong for long-term builds, whereas it doesn't give you any power instantly, but with each level up I get more mana than I would have, and I will sort of get more cards played in the long term, basically. This was a 2-skull location, which means there should be chests about. Chests can provide you additional cards, and the more difficult the location, the more numerous or high value chests you find, and you will be able to find better cards in better chests, essentially. Alright, this looks good. Let's use this one. Okay, we are stronger now, and for purposes of the demo, we have pre-acquired the next 2 keys, and Simon found the third one, so we can actually seek out the Tomb of Gales and try to complete this region. But first, let's go for a pit stop. Each region in Avalt has a town. These are the only real safe havens against the horde of hatred that populate the lands. In the Klippdal region, we have the nearby town of Valhus. Now, towns are great points to return to during a run, as they offer various benefits. There are multiple vendors in the town, so up here you see the blacksmith offers equipment that you can purchase for hard-earned coin. Here we have the brewer, offers potions. I think we might actually get 1 or 2. Good to stock up before the boss. Now each town also has a town member offering you 1 quest for each run per town. And the quests give you a good opportunity to earn XP, money to restock on your potions. Okay, let's head to the tomb. Each town also has a Raven Tower, which is very handy. The tombs house the locked-away gods of the elements, in this case Svali, the goddess of sky. But before we can reach her, we need to fight our way through the Acolyte, which is the guardian boss of the tomb. Bosses are the toughest fights in the game, and they will test both your mechanical skills and your build efficiency to its limits.